What happens if I don't pay my taxes? My property taxes, I should say. So, hey guys, I'm Brad with Arborview Properties. We're a house buying company out of North Metro Atlanta, and we buy houses all over the Metro Atlanta area. Um, I'm sure you're probably wondering what happens if you don't pay your property taxes. We buy a lot of houses from people who are behind on their property taxes, and a few things happen. So, this greatly depends on the county that you live in. Here in Georgia, some counties will sell that tax lien at auction to an investor. And what happens is you have, in the state of Georgia, there's a 12-month right to redemption period. So that basically means that if your delinquent taxes and that tax lien is sold at an auction to an investor, the investor bids on that and they bid a certain number and they buy that. They basically then pay the county those taxes. So what happens is, let's just say you owe the county $1,500, okay? And the property goes to tax auction, and the county auctions off that property, and it ultimately ends up selling for $1,500 for the amount of the taxes, okay? You, as the homeowner, now have 12 months to redeem that, and you can take your property back. The reason the investor does it is because you have to pay them their $1,500 plus interest if you redeem it. The interest rate or the amount of the interest will depend, so you need to check with your particular county. A lot of the counties do have information on their websites about what happens with the tax lien sale and how much the interest is due and all those things, so you definitely want to explore that. But what will happen is, let's say you have to pay $1,500 back plus, let's say the interest is 20%. So 20% of $1,500 is, well, 10% of $1,500 is 15, so it'd be $300. So you would have to pay them back $1,800 to get your property back, to redeem it. The investor cannot actually take legitimate title to the property until after that 12 months is up. And then what they would actually have to do is foreclose on the property, and they would have to evict you from the property and get you out of the property. And then they have to go through what's called a quiet title process, and they will have to clean up any title issues on the property. And that could take another 6 to 12 months to do a quiet title suit. They have to file a lawsuit with the court, and they go through a quiet title action, and it takes a little while. So basically, if you don't pay your taxes, the property can go to tax sale, and they'll actually sell it for the amount of taxes, because the government wants their money. So the only reason they do the auctions for the taxes is they're going to get their money. An investor is going to give them their money, and then now you have to go to the investor to get your house back and pay the investor off their amount plus interest. The reason the investors buy it is because, let's say the interest is 20%. Well, they're making a 20% return on their money because they're fronting $1,500 cash, and then if you pay them off, then you owe them $1,800. So they get 20% interest return on their money, and they get $1,800 back. You know, their worst case scenario is that you pay them off. The best case scenario is that they just bought a house, they get title to a house. Now granted, they're going to have to go through a quiet title, and it's going to take some additional monies to clear up the title on the property, and they're going to have to either foreclose or evict you out of the property. But they can get a house for a few $1,000s that's worth maybe, let's call it $100,000. Now there may be other liens on the property and other mortgages that need to be satisfied, and that's the whole purpose of the quiet title action. But the reason they do it is because they can get a house for really, really cheap, but they have to be patient. They have to wait an entire year before they can even attempt to try to take the property back. So that's what happens if you don't pay your taxes. Now some counties in the Metro Atlanta area actually will just continue to lien the property forever and ever and ever. But let's say, for example, I know like here in Cherokee County where I live, they'll just continue to lien the property, and they don't actually do the tax sales, only on select certain properties. And so you could just have years and years of liens. We had one recently we made an offer on. They hadn't paid their property taxes since 2010. So that was 9 years of delinquent property taxes. They owed the county $18,000 in delinquent taxes on the property, but the county never put it up for tax lien sale. They never sold it off. So there could be a number of reasons why they wouldn't sell it off, but also you could, a new public office holder, a new tax commissioner could be appointed next year, and that tax commissioner could come in and decide, hey, we're going to sell off all these old tax liens, even if they haven't been doing it for years, and your property could get sold off at a tax lien auction, and someone could take your property and you could lose it for the amount of the property taxes. So there's a risk there that happens. Now again, you still do have a 12-month right to redemption period. You can pay those taxes back and redeem your property, the taxes plus the amount of the interest, to redeem your property and get to keep it. But there's a risk there that you could lose your property for the amount of the taxes. Again, it depends on the county. You should check with your county and validate with the county how much, what their rules are on that, and most of them all have that listed on the tax commissioner's website. But that's what can happen if you don't pay your taxes. At Arborview Properties, we purchase houses all the time from people who haven't paid their taxes, and what happens is at closing, the closing attorney pays the amount of the taxes off to the county. So let's say you owe the county $5,000 in delinquent taxes. That would just come out of your closing proceeds on the property. So let's say you're selling a property for $100,000. At closing, you'll walk away from the closing table with $95,000. They'll send a $5,000 check to the county, and they'll pay off the delinquent taxes, and then the title of the property transfers to us if we buy it. That's how it works. And that way, you're basically just, the money's coming out of your closing proceeds. You're not having to front that before closing. It's just coming out of the closing proceeds at closing. So I hope that makes sense. That's what can happen if you don't pay your property taxes. The county could sell your house off at a tax lien auction, or they may just put liens on it forever. And all a lien means is you owe us money, and that sticks to the property. So if you ever go to sell that property, that lien has to be paid off, and that lien has to be satisfied in order to transfer title to the property. There is not a single closing attorney or title office in this state that would close and not pay off those taxes. They have to. There's a lien. They can't transfer title. They can't get title insurance. They can't give you a warranty deed, or the buyer a warranty deed on it. So that's what can happen if you don't pay your taxes. So if you do have a house that you're interested in selling and you want to give us a call, our number is 770-810-5715, or you can click on the link below in our web form at arborviewhomebuyers.com. You can fill out the web form, and we'll give you a call as soon as possible and chat with you about your house. Thanks again, guys. Hope you have a great day.